The year is 629 CE. In the Jewish settlement of Khaybar, a murder has taken place that will change the course of legal history forever. Abdullah ibn Sahl has been found dead. No witnesses, no murder weapon, no identified killer, just a body and accusations flying in every direction. What happened next would establish principles of justice that wouldn't appear in Western law for another 1,000 years. When the case reached Prophet Muhammad, the community was demanding swift justice. They had their suspicions. They wanted action. But the Prophet's response was revolutionary. "Where is your evidence?" he asked the accusers. In a world where suspicion often meant conviction, where community pressure trumped individual rights, Muhammad demanded something radical: proof. This single question established what we now call the burden of proof, the idea that accusers must prove their case, not that defendants must prove their innocence. But Muhammad went further. He introduced the Qasama procedure, an alternative evidence system that maintained fairness while acknowledging the practical limits of conventional proof. 50 oath-takers would swear to their belief in the accusation. It was sophisticated legal thinking, creating a middle path between abandoning justice and rushing to judgment. When even this alternative evidence couldn't be met, Muhammad made an unprecedented decision. He paid the blood money himself, from state resources. This established that when private legal mechanisms fail, the state has a responsibility to ensure justice for all parties. 14 centuries later, these principles still echo through Islamic legal systems worldwide. The presumption of innocence, burden of proof on accusers, state responsibility for justice, alternative evidence procedures. These weren't borrowed from Western constitutional law, they preceded it by over a millennium. This isn't legend or mythology. The case appears in multiple authentic hadith collections, Sahih Muslim, Muwatta Malik, and others. Independent transmission chains with consistent core facts. All four major schools of Islamic law built procedures based on this single case. While Europe was still centuries away from concepts like due process, this murder case in a small Arabian settlement was establishing sophisticated protections for individual rights. More comprehensive than many modern systems: privacy protections, evidence scrutiny, safeguards against arbitrary prosecution. This challenges everything we've been told about Islamic law and individual rights. The narrative that due process is a Western invention, that Islamic law doesn't protect defendants, that constitutional protections originated in modern democracies. All of it needs to be reconsidered in light of what happened at Khaybar in 629 CE. The murder of Abdullah ibn Sahl teaches us that rigorous proof standards and procedural protections aren't modern innovations. They're rooted in authentic legal traditions that prioritized evidence over expedience, procedure over politics, and individual protection over collective demands for retribution. The sophisticated balance between procedural protection and restorative justice established at Khaybar continues influencing legal thought today. A murder case from 7th century Arabia established due process principles that predated the Magna Carta by 6 centuries and the US Constitution by over a millennium. Sometimes the most revolutionary legal ideas come from the most unexpected places. The next time you hear about due process rights, remember, it all started with a murder at Khaybar.